Hi, so I just want to introduce myself and just to second the welcome. Nice to see some new faces. So my name is Deb Brill, and I'm currently a middle school principal. And just a quick little bit of background, I also worked as a safe and inclusive schools coordinator, developing curriculum for K through 8. I taught sixth grade for a number of years, and then I used to direct after school programming, boys and girls clubs, day camp programming, and I've done a lot of mediation work with youth offenders through court diversion programs, as well as some other pieces. So, and then Camille and I have a training and consulting business working on identity and equity work. So that's what we come to you here with, and just generally really see our role as facilitating and bringing out all of the experience and wisdom that we have amongst us today.
Yes, and so just a little bit of background about me. My name is Camille Fisher. I taught math to middle school and high school students for over 10 years. I've also managed a bunch of different clubs on campuses that I've been on. So I've done Best Buddies, which focus on students with developmental and disabilities, and then physical disabilities as well. I've also helped run an infinity group, a Black infinity group on our campus currently now. And I'm also taking over student leadership at my school. And so I've had that background with my education. And then most recently, in the last couple of years, I've done some work around facilitating discussions around diversity and inclusion. And so that is part of our organization, ASK, which I'm here representing with Deb to help you guys and also guide you through one of our workshops and give you some ideas on ways that you can do this type of work within your own institutions and organizations. So to begin, we'll start off with some norms just so that we can have a ground level, but I really am meaning this, especially after last night's election. I'm just happy to see you guys here and excited to do some work with you around systemic racism within education. So for our norms, one, please stay present and engaged even when discussions can become difficult, and listen actively. Bring a positive and open mind to the work at hand. Be mindful of speaking for yourself here and elsewhere, considering what might be confidential. Number three, step up and step back. Be aware of those times where having equal time to speak is just, and when our positions of oppression and dominance require additional time to restore justice. And you're welcome to use the raise your hand feature and thumbs up or clapping features to communicate throughout, as well as chat when asked to.
So we're going to be using breakout rooms throughout this presentation. And I think, I know many of us have had lots of different experiences with different types of workshops and around systemic oppression. And I think what we really want to bring here today is the opportunity to take some time to reflect and think about our own experiences, to learn from through the lens of other people's experiences. And so I think breakout rooms really lend themselves to that. I also know we all have a million things going on in our lives, and the election and all these other pieces. And so I just know we're doing what we can to be present here. And when we're in breakout rooms, for those of you who are comfortable and able to turn your cameras on. I think it's just hard to connect in a small group setting when you can't see people. And I also know there's really good reasons why people may need to keep your cameras off, but in that setting, if you're able to, that would be wonderful. So we're going to be in the same breakout rooms throughout the session today. And so the first question is just a chance to check in with one another and get to know each other a little bit to start off with. We're going to be in groups of about 4. And the question that we're going to ask is, and you can insert your identity there, and we'll give an example. How have you been impacted by last night's election? So I'm going to turn over to Camille to give an example first.
Yes, I'll go ahead and start us off with this one. And I've been thinking about this all last night and this morning, and also had a conversation with some 8th graders just before this. And so as a queer Black woman, I am not surprised as to how close this race is, especially after seeing Trump rallies and Trump caravans over the weekend, and especially after talking to the white side of my family and hearing many of them making the choice and decision to vote for Trump when they're talking and speaking about money. As a Black queer woman, I feel upset that we're in this position, and I feel upset that it's so close and that Trump may win. I also am feeling very fearful and very scared, and not just for myself, but for my friends, for my family, for my daughter, for my students. I'm literally trying to hold back tears right now because the fear is real. And when I talk to people that they don't understand how fearful I am, it's not about money, it's not about status or class, it's about preservation, about being able to live. And so that makes me very upset right now and very scared right now.
Thank you, Camille.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I slept all of 2 hours last night, just kept on, tuning back in and seeing what was happening. As a white Jewish woman, I look at this election and I think of all of the pieces that Trump has put out there, all the sexual assault allegations, all of his blatantly racist comments, and on and on. And I think about how half of our country is supporting him. And I think about what that means in terms of who we are and this country that we live in, and my girls and what I'm raising them in, my students at my school, and the lack of safety that we are choosing as a country to provide for people who live here. And I just find it very painful to watch. It's like one thing for us to be like, oh, Trump, this guy who does these things, but half of our country hears that he's done these things and says these things, blatantly racist, blatantly misogynistic, and we still are supporting him. And for me, I'm just really struggling with that. So what we're going to do at this point is put people into breakout rooms, maybe in groups of about 4. And we're going to just ask you to share with this prompt, and just kind of go around and give each person a chance to share. Okay. So Sonia is our room monitor and in charge of our breakout room. So Sonia, if you want to put everybody except for us into breakout rooms of 4, that would be great.
Hi, Diana and Galen. Just so you know, everyone's in breakout groups right now, and they'll be joining with us just a minute. Oh, okay, good. Here we go. Okay, welcome back.
That was a good one. Oh,
I think we needed more time on that one.
That's exactly my question, was like, how many of you felt like you needed more time? Yeah, okay. And then how many of you felt like you were feeling some of the same emotions that someone was speaking to, like anger, fear, being upset? Okay. Yeah, we understand. And when we found out we had only 1 hour to do this workshop, we also understood that we would love some more time as well. So we just want to acknowledge and appreciate you guys participating in the breakout groups. So we are going to transition into our next piece, which is going to be looking at an excerpt from an article labeled "A Conversation About Instructional Equity" with Zaretta Hammond. This is just part 1 of the article. And as you are reading the article, there are some a guiding question that we'd like you to keep in mind as you are reading. Zaretta Hammond focuses the equity conversation around inequity by design. What are some examples of inequity by design in our school systems? What I'm going to do right now is Great. I see some people know who she is, so that's great. I'm going to put in the chat right now the link to this slide presentation so that you can view and click the links and get to the article. Also, let me see if I can go back real quick. Also, there in that article, if you just click this link here, in the article, there is just the 2 paragraphs that we're going to read from the entire article itself. And there's also a bio about Zaretta Hammond in there if you'd like to take a look at that. And there's also a link to the full article for you as well. And so we posted the article here if you are having trouble accessing the slide, but these are the 2 paragraphs that we're going to take just about 5 minutes to read through and kind of think about the focus question of where do we see inequity by design in our education systems? So 5 minutes to read.
Okay, we're going to come back together here. And what we're going to be asking you to do next is to do a little bit of journaling. And, one of the things that Camille and I really appreciated with this work is having a chance to reflect on our own before having to share out. I think gives us a chance to, just think a little bit more deeply without kind of being on the spot to be thinking and talking. And so we're going to stay together as a whole group to do journaling. And then after that, we'll be breaking into breakout rooms to do some sharing. And so we'd like to, for journaling, if you have a piece of paper you can write on, or you want to type on your computer, or whatever form of reflection works well for you is totally fine. And we would like you to think about the different facets of your identity. So kind of think about intersectionality and all of the different ways that you identify yourself, whether that's about race, gender, socioeconomic, religion, and think about your own experiences as children, growing up as a student in a school system. And ask you to think about, how do you think your intersectional identity impacted your educational experience? And then looking back on your educational experience, what are some inequities by design that you can notice in reflection about that experience? And so just kind of taking those two questions as kind of, you can kind of blend in between, in and out of those as related, and just do a little bit of journaling. And we're going to spend about 3 minutes journaling on this. And then we'll prompt you to let you know we're going to be moving into breakout rooms. So if you want to go ahead and do that. You want to start wrapping up your thoughts? So we're going to be in a moment moving back into our same breakout rooms. And what we're going to be asking is for you as a group to monitor, having each person have a chance to share out any pieces of what you reflected on that you're wanting to share about. And each person taking about a minute. So if there's someone in the group who'd be willing to kind of be a timekeeper and just kind of generally monitor and say, okay, that's been a minute, so we can hear from every person in the group. And then after everyone's had a chance to share, then there'll be 5 minutes for crosstalk where you can just have a discussion. And that might be an opportunity where somebody shared something that you want to ask more about, or you want to say, hey, I relate to that too, or whatever it is, because when each person's sharing, it's just a chance for them to be talking. It's not a conversation. It's just a chance to actively listen and really hear what each person has to say. And then the crosstalk's then a chance to follow back up with people and talk about maybe what resonated for you, or maybe you have questions, or maybe just some discussion comes out of it. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions before we break you into breakout rooms? Okay, so then Sonia, room monitor, if you don't mind sending people back into the same rooms.
We have everyone back. We have a treat for you. Our next exercise is actually a Padlet activity, which we'll send to you now. And what it is, it's a look at the history of U.S. education and its specific policies, goals, and ideas that have made it the system that it is today, and how it deliberately shows you that that the US education system is designed to suppress certain identities and certain groups, and to widen the achievement gap that we all try to feel like, how do we overcome this challenge? It's all deliberate. So so there's the Padlet. I put it into the chat for you. It's also in the slideshow link, which is also in the chat as well. And so what we like you to do now, because this is going to be a little bit more self-paced as we do this, is as you take a look at the Padlet activity, I'll wait for it to show up. I'll show you how to scroll a little bit so you understand what you're looking at. Here we go. So as you see the Padlet here, you can actually scroll to the side to go through different time periods. And then if you look at a certain one like 1647, and you can actually scroll down and read the rest. And what we like you to do is spend the next few minutes reading through the Padlet and looking at all the different policies and different acts that have gone into education in terms of suppressing certain groups. And then what stands out to you, what resonates with you, we would love for you to put in chat so that it's chatted to everyone, so that we can have a community type of involvement and discussion around some of these things that we see in US education. Oh, it's asking for a code. Okay, I'll post the link again. I don't think it should. There you go. So hopefully that should work.
People maybe want to give a thumbs up if you're able to open the Padlet.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. And then just as you're reading through it, just feel free to pop anything to the chat as you're going. I know it won't be enough time, but we're gonna just spend one more minute on this and you'll still have access to the Padlet, so of course can reference it after this, but we want to be able to have one more discussion before we wrap up with our breakout room. So one more minute of reading and reflecting. Okay, we're going to move forward. I know it's not enough time to have gone through it all, but I think got a flavor and appreciate all of the chatting that was done. It's always just highlights different pieces and just to see what catches people and different reflection. And so for our final breakout room discussion, we're going to pull together the ideas from Zaretta Hammond's article and from this Padlet. And so what we're going to ask you to think about is kind of bringing together both the history of education from this Padlet and Zaretta Hammond's article with the concept focusing on inequity by design. Asking you to think about currently in today's school systems, what are some inequities of design that you see? And it's not going to be an individual share, it's just going to be a group discussion. So, and hopefully at this point, you've gotten to know your breakout room a little and can be mindful of equity of voice and hearing from everyone in your group, but just kind of in general reflecting on those concepts. So we'll spend about 5 minutes in those breakout rooms, which won't be enough time, but at least we'll get the discussion going. So Sonia, if you don't mind adding people in there. And then Sonia, I'm putting the question in the chat. If you don't mind broadcasting that again, that would be super.
Asked.
Not enough time.
Yeah.
Definitely not enough
Speedy,
time.
but wonderful.
It's a good thing because it shows how rich the discussions are. It's a bad thing because I wish we did have more time and definitely want to give you that time. And I think also when we look back at this question, you know, if we had more time, the next step, the next piece would be something actionable. Like, yes, let's acknowledge the systems of inequity in our education school systems, but then what can we do? What can we change? How can we kind of break down the system and kind of rebuild it from something new that really ends up serving and supporting all students from all identities? So we have 5 minutes left of our presentation. Sonia, our room monitor, is going to put into the chat a survey that they'd like you to take for the conference. And we would love to have any honest feedback in that survey as well. And then we also want to share, you know, if you're interested in our formatting, our facilitation skills, or the way that we have done this workshop, inside the slideshow, there is the information for our website and also our email. And then we have a flyer that's attached as well that just gives you some insight as to how we work during this COVID time on Zoom and how we can best support your organizations in bringing this work into the fold. And then for the last few minutes, as you're working on the survey and maybe taking a look back at the slideshow at some information, we also want to just kind of open it up for any Q&A on maybe the format or the questioning or why we did specific things, or if there's anything you'd like to share out with the group. Okay, good. I see someone said the Padlet and slide deck is a great resource. Yeah, I hope that you take the time to use that, read it yourselves, or share it with others. I also find it very valuable. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna reshare the slide deck in the chat again. There you go. Oh, the slide deck. Okay, sorry, that was the Padlet. Let me do the slide for you.
I just wanted to say thank you to the people that I spoke to. It was a really vulnerable space to be in, especially after last night and this morning. So thanks to the presenters for allowing us to have that space, and then to the people that I talked to today.
We all move
Thank
so
you as
fast.
well, Vanessa.
I think we often are moving so fast in our world, and when we have some human time to connect with each other, for me, it feels really valuable. It sounds like it does to others as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and thank you, Vanessa, for sharing that. Yes, downside, it wasn't enough time. Agreed. Okay, I'm glad we enjoyed the journaling. Yeah. And then I just put the slide deck back into the chat for you.
Mm.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of my favorite words. This is dope. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And being here with you guys, I mean, you're all strangers, right? We're all strangers. And it makes me feel very hopeful as well, because I wasn't feeling that before this meeting. Good. Well, within the last minute, I hope you take this hopeful feeling and really take some of these resources we shared with you and carry this with you throughout today and the rest of the week as election results start to roll out and be more definitive. And just want to give a big shout out and just a big thank you for being here and for being vulnerable and for interacting and engaging with us and each other.
And just feel free to reach out to us if anything comes up afterwards, or you have questions or want resources, or if there's anything we can do to support your organization or school. You have our information, so don't hesitate.
Mhm.